Hey, this is Austin from Waterparks and all your other favorite bands too, and you are listening to the Rock Sound Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Rock Sound Podcast. I'm Will Cross, and we are doing this for the first time ever as a two-piece. Jack Rogers, how are you?
Hello, Will. I'm all right.
You're eating a soya yogurt.
I am, yeah. It's just one of those days, you know.
It is.
But yeah, like everyone's left us, man. So it's like Rob's not here, like Tams is not here. Hopefully she's back next week. So I'm like comfort eating.
It's emotional.
Yeah, like vegan comfort eating.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like our intern has gone home to Holland. He's left us as well, and we are eating his chocolate pudding.
Thanks, man.
So yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. This week we have got an absolute bumper. We have got Lower Than Atlantis' Mike Duce making his Rock Sound Podcast debut in again, which I think is a kind of a classic chat, really, talking everything coming up for the band, including new music, fans, and his views on Fuck You and World Record, which is an interesting topic, their upcoming UK club tour, all sorts of stuff. You know, I think it's one of those things where I'm just going to let him do the talking, because some of the things he came out with were absolutely brilliant. And it's a bit of a themes episode as well, because we've got Henry from Boston Manor also joining us. The band have just entered the studio to record album 2, so we caught up with Henry a couple of weeks ago when they were finishing up writing, and I spoke to Henry about all sorts of things that's happening with album 2, and also the pop punk war that is going on Twitter right now. There's quite controversial tweets about the genre and label and that sort of thing. Super interesting. And we've also got our new band spotlight coming back with our lead breakout stars in our new issue with Nothing Nowhere on the cover, the Faim, who are also on the Lower Than Atlantis tour. So it's a bit of a special somewhat this week. Just released their debut single, Saints of the Sinners, which was co-written with Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy. Absolutely amazing. I feel like Pete's becoming a mascot for this podcast. He's like mentioned every week.
I mean, I'm fine with that. Like, Pete Wentz endorsement, like, if he could do us a jingle.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Let's make that happen. And, working with Josh Dun as well, of course, 21 Pilots, Mark Hoppus, of course, Blink-182. Absolutely amazing. They've got a really, really interesting story already, and it's only the beginning for those guys. So, super interesting stuff. I know you Faim fans are all out there. So, awesome stuff. First, Jack, little sing-song roulette.
I mean, I didn't know this was coming.
So, we've had the past couple of weeks, we've had Jack serenade us with things like Expensive Mistakes by Fall Out Boy and Not Warriors by Waterparks. So this week I think it's time for a little bit of Paranoid by our stars from last week, Milestones.
Well, I mean, like, the way that I do it, because Will's doing this, because like I just sing along all the time.
He does.
And when the album comes on, I just do the guitar at the start, which goes like bow wow wow da na 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 na. And it's always in my head. I always beat it to it, but I'm not doing it anymore, man. I'm just doing the guitar.
He's a tease.
Well, you already know that.
Amazing stuff. So let's go. This is I'm not really used to this format.
So it's the news first, and sad news that Shields guitarist George Christie has passed away. Our thoughts are with the band and his family at this sad time. And the Used have had to cancel their upcoming UK and European tour due to a family death. Our thoughts are also with them. Nothing Nowhere, which we announced last week that he'd done his first debut UK show. It sold out within 9 hours.
Insane.
If you're not on board yet, you know why you should be now. Get a bundle, get involved. Ex-Panic at Disco guitarist Ryan Ross has appeared in the video for Zeeberg's I Fall for the Same Face Every Time, which has to be seen to be believed. Ryan Ross is alive. Mad, isn't it? Paramore dropped the video for Rose Coloured Boy. Movements have announced a UK tour in April and May. The Wonder Years have announced their new album Sister Cities that will be released on April 6th. And Austin Knight has reviewed his own band's album Entertainment on iTunes. Includes a lot of mentions of sweet potatoes.
It does.
The inferior potato.
Oh, food talk. Right, so interview one. Right, Mike Duce making his debut on the podcast. We've been so excited about this for a long time. We're both big LTA boys, and we know a lot of you guys out there are too, and LTA boys and girls. And yeah, just obviously Mike's a character, everyone knows that, and super candid and honest at all times. And to kind of, I guess they're kind of between cycles at the moment. They've got this really, really cool club tour, long, extensive club tour coming up at the UK in April, and you know, taking out Boston Manor and Milk Teeth and the Faim. And yeah, it was interesting to talk to him about, you know, the way that the band's early stuff is viewed, and then also talking to him about the later stuff, how he feels about it. And yeah, I got some interesting answers that I wasn't necessarily expecting. So yeah, I think it's just kind of one of those things where we're just going to roll the chat and you guys can come to your own conclusions. But absolutely brilliant. I was cracking up all the way through. So shout out Mike. Here we go. Mike Duce of Dun Atlantis.
I will say, mate, this is the clearest call I've ever been connected on in my life. It's normally the other person sounds like they're trapped down a well, shouting down a toilet roll, tube hole, nothing.
No
great,
worries. We'll kick off, I guess, with the tour that's coming up in April. Really exciting stuff. I mean, like, obviously, it's a return for you guys, first tour since the Shikari run. And it's a really eclectic bill in that you've got, you know, Milk Teeth, Boston Manor, and the Faim on there. And obviously, you know, you guys across all 5 albums, super eclectic. You know, you've done so many things, and you've got a really diverse catalogue. I mean, this tour feels like a real kind of reflection of all those kind of different things. And, you know, Milk Teeth and Boston Manor, you've got slightly harder edge bands, and then the Faim are, you know, slightly poppier outfit. So kind of with that in mind, what kind of was behind the decision to put this touring bill together?
Well, I think for us personally, as a band, we tend to have. Well, we enjoy the bigger shows. It's a whole different kettle of fish. I mean, bigger shows, obviously, there's more people, and you can have production and stuff, which is great. But we have a lot of fun still playing smaller shows, like club shows. You know, and there's nothing to hide behind them. There's no bangs and flashes and anything. It's just kind of just full blokes playing rock music, and I don't know. It's more. That's where we kind of cut our teeth, and it's just more us as people. We're just sort of dirty, gritty guys, I don't know. So yeah, we just thought it'd be a laugh, and we get to play. It was like back in the day, mate. Can you hear that noise?
Yeah, very vaguely. Yeah.
Right, it's like the dog's got his squeaky toy and he's like biting it and singing along with it. Yeah, back in the day when we started off, we would tour for like months around the UK, which is, you trust me, it's possible. And it was just fun. Like, we'd book our shows through MySpace, and then, you know, some nights there'd be like 3 people there or less, and then other times there'd be like 100 people there, and it was just, I don't know, it was really fun. Like that, it was very unpredictable, and that just made it really, really fun for us. So we're trying to do that again, I guess, recreate that, get to play in places where some of those kids might not necessarily be able to afford to travel to the big city for a gig, or, you know, people just have commitments like kids and stuff and they can't make it. So it'll be fun to travel to the far reaches.
No, yeah, for sure. Because I mean, as well, you know, so speaking of Shikari run, like before that, you know, you had like the big sold out tour. You know, you played Brixton and everything. It was all mega. So it's just kind of a way, and based on what you just said, it's just kind of a way to have fun again, I guess, and just kind of, you know, see the people up close and personal again.
Yeah, definitely. And also in regards to the support, sorry, I forgot to ask that. I guess, Timmy, mate, can you give me that? Yeah, good boy. Also with the support, we're playing some older songs, some songs that we haven't played in a while, you know, especially for the YouTube commenters. So we just felt like those bands are kind of similar to what we kind of the music that we used to make. So I guess it just all kind of fit that way. I've got a funny story about Boston Manor, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I've since met the bloke, but about or something, I was standing outside a pub at Watford Junction having a fag. Right. And this car came like screeching up basically and pulled up onto the footpath in front of me. And this bloke got out of it and he was like, "It's you! I knew I'd see you today. It's you!" And he gave me a CD and was like, "This is my band. Check it out." I think I actually lost it because I went out that night, but it turns out it was a Boston Manor CD, and it was one of the blokes from Boston Manor who'd gone to Harry Potter World with his girlfriend. And he was like, "I know, I'm going to see him today, I will." And he did, and he gave me the CD. A better story would have been that I listened to it, and that's why we've taken him on tour, but Yeah, I probably should have lied, shouldn't I? Not as good a story.
Amazing. So yeah, well, based on that, I mean, it's interesting that you're playing some older stuff. I mean, like, what was the what kind of brought that decision on? Did you just kind of want to revisit some of the stuff like the Far Q stuff and the world record stuff?
Well, yeah, definitely, man. And it's a tough one because Deck deals with all of our sets and even like what we're gonna play and what song leads into what and like all of the sort of jam out parts in between and stuff. And it's always, you know, especially on a support, you're probably only playing for like half hour, 45 minutes, and then a headline you can probably play for like an hour and a half maximum. But we've got like, how many albums have we even got? I don't even know. We've got five, yeah. Five albums. That's a lot of songs. You know what I mean? And you just can't play them all. And I think for a lot of people, they found out about us for the first time from when our self-titled album came out. People thought we were a new band, like a lot of people. So for a long time, we just had to mainly play those songs. And then, obviously, we released Safe and Sound after that, and we had to showcase a lot of that material. And I feel like the world record stuff and the Far Q stuff kind of got pushed back a bit, which is a shame. And also, man, like, some of those songs like that double time kind of punk beat and stuff, like, in bigger venues, it just sounds turd. Like, it just doesn't come across at all. Those songs were written for smaller venues, so... Hence, again, another reason why we're going back and doing them.
Definitely, yeah. No, that's really exciting. I mean, like, especially, I mean, like, speaking of Safe and Sound, I mean, like, I remember you saying that you know, you're very proud of that album and it's really proud of what you achieved with it. I mean, do you still feel that way? Like, is that still very much the kind of the top of the pile in terms of, you know, what you like the most of what you've created?
I love all of our albums equally.
Oh, cool.
For different reasons. It's like they're like my children. Like, you can't have a favourite. You know, it's bad. Yeah, I'd say because it's the newest one. It's like my youngest child. You know, you always love the baby a bit more than you say if you had teenagers. That's always the way, man. We don't like dislike anything. I forgot what you asked me. Would you ask me?
No, yeah, just how you feel. Yeah, just how you feel about that album, really. I mean, like, especially in comparison, because I mean, I know, you know, like you've like LTA, everyone's kind of got there's sort of everyone's got their own LTA favourite. You know, there's kind of favourites across the board. I mean, how do you feel about that when you know chatting to fans and that sort of thing? You know, is it? Do you prefer it that way, in that, you know, you never know what a fan's favourite album's going to be, or kind of how do you feel about that sort of thing?
It does seem that fans of like earlier stuff, especially the Far Q album, people always say like, "Bring back Far Q." And it's like, what do you mean? It's already there. Go and fucking listen to it. What are you on about? What do you mean, bring it back? I don't know. I find it. There are certain bands that do it, and they do it well, where they just kind of reinvent the same album over and over again, which is cool. And like some of my favourite bands do that. But I don't ever want to be that band, man. Especially when you're like touring a lot and I don't know, it's just playing the same fucking thing. It just gets so monotonous. And I guess the reason why we've chosen this rock and roll lifestyle is because we don't really want to conform to the whole 9 to 5 regimented kind of routine. So I guess it's just a bit of a change. We like all different types of music, you know, so why would we stick to one? I find it weird when people, I mean, it's still rock music, you know what I mean? There's still drums and guitars and stuff. And it's still got Kermit the Frog / Morrissey singing over the top of it. So, fuck up, mate! I've just spilt something. Give me 2 seconds.
Oh shit! Yeah, go for it, mate.
Hold on. Bye, mate.
All good.
I'm here.
Cool, all good. Yeah, cool. Yeah, because I mean, like, speaking of that, you know, I mean, I know that you've been writing. Obviously, I know you're pretty much always writing. I mean, is there kind of material for a future LTA album in the works, or is it just, are you just kind of seeing how it goes?
There is, mate, and I feel like I don't know. It's a tough one. Obviously, we get excited about new stuff. I feel like everyone is like extra excited about the new material because it's just a bit. I don't know. It was quite scary for me before, like being the writer in the band, because it gets to a point where when it is your full-time job and being the age we are, like Ben's 30, I'm 20, we're kind of. In terms of this whole UK rock scene, we are getting a little bit older and like we've got mortgages and stuff. So I feel like that was always in the back of my mind when writing stuff. Like, you know, I would never change anything, or what's the best way to put this into words? It was always like when I was writing, it was in the back of my mind like this was going to have to be on radio. You know what I mean? Or that was always I'm not going to lie, I did always think about that stuff, but I feel like now we don't really care. Really, I don't know. Just want to make music that we want to make, and if people like it, then sweet, and if they don't, then they're obviously deaf because we're amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's that been what's that been a reaction from? Is it just kind of, is it being a bit fed up with how people consume music these days, and kind of, the industry in general? Like, what kind of made you feel that way in the end?
I don't know. I feel like it's the same with culture, I guess. Things go so far one way that there's like a revolt, and it goes, it turns on its head and it comes back around full circle. I feel like it's just that. It's like a natural thing. Over the years, we've gone down a certain trajectory, and then now I feel that it's kind of, we've gone far off one way that we just want to do something completely different.
Definitely, yeah.
Does anything I say make sense, or do I sound like a stoner?
No, it's all making sense. No, as an LTA fan, this is very exciting. I mean, how's it affecting the sound of the? I mean, obviously you probably don't want to give too much away, but like, I remember you tweeting something about sort of, focusing on riffs and that sort of thing. Like, is it just, and like, some of the riffs, I know it's like spun from, I know you've had influence from things like American football to things like Ruben, way across the board. Like, is it going to be kind of, how's it sounding?
Well, I feel like, especially on the last two records, I was concentrating mainly on like melody over anything, and trying to get like really good hooky pop songs that were like sort of clever in places and had those slight nuances that a musician might listen to it and think, oh, that's cool. But I feel like this time, because I am, even though I'm a songwriter, I'm a guitar player first and foremost. So I've just been playing guitar a lot more, really, and writing cool riffs, and then trying to work them, trying to, I guess, put them together. And then from what I've learned on the last two albums, writing catchy melodies, I'm just trying to put it all together, really. Like the best bits of every album kind of thing.
Very exciting, yeah. Because I mean, as well,
just trying to be the best me that I can be,
yeah. Because I mean, like, speaking of that as well, we were chatting about like Far Q, especially earlier, and fans talking about that album. I mean, especially lyrically on that album, it's very, very brutal. I mean, is it hard to kind of go back to some of that stuff?
Well, you know what, mate. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I own a house in London. I can't talk about not being able to eat and being broke and things like that. That was a certain part of my life, but it wouldn't be real if I was banging on like that now. I feel like definitely the honesty in those lyrics is coming back, like, for sure. Like, I know for a fact that when a couple of people that work with us hear one song in particular, they're going to be like, "You fucking kidding me? What are you doing to me?" Like, but yeah, I don't know, that the honesty element of Far Q lyrics is definitely coming back. But I won't be singing about being in loads of debt and stuff, because I'm not.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So does that suggest that this is going to be quite an angry record in parts?
Yeah, mainly all of it.
Oh, oh right. Okay. Awesome. Because speaking of like self-titled and Safe and Sound, like you say, was because lyrically, you were talking about things, like, I mean, there was a lot of there was some moments of it was a bit of a wider kind of lyrical canvas, I guess, on that. And, you were talking about, there were songs about religion and about love and things like that, So is that because you were focusing on melody in particular that you kind of wanted to explore different topics as opposed to things being a bit less personal, I suppose?
Well, where I was with that? Like, that my whole philosophy behind that was, I'll talk about the subject that means something to me, and I'll get across my message that I want to get across. But for want of a better word, I was trying to be slightly vague, because my thought process behind that was I wanted people to hear the song, know what it's about, and whereas Q is very cross-subjective, it's like, this is me, this is a specific niche thing that happened to me. But with those albums, I wanted people to, even if they didn't quite get what I was talking about, they might take something else away from it, and it might mean something different to them. I just wanted to kind of reach a broader load of people. I don't really know what I'm on about now, mate.
No, I get you. No, for sure. No. So I mean, I guess with this album, then, is this going back to a slightly more, like you say, there's an anger there and that honesty? Is this going to be, I guess, more of a Mike album? Then it's going to be more about your life again in general.
Yeah, I think it is, man. And you know what? Like, you'll always, it sounds awful, I'm especially bad at this, but like, there's always, I don't know, there's always something, like, for me especially, so basically now in my life, I've almost got, like, everything I'd ever wanted and more, and I'm still not happy, and that for me is, like, possibly way scarier than, I don't know, anything else in life, because the thing, like, what's always spurred me, so there's been certain, like, boxes to tick, and it's always, you know, the journey is the enjoyable thing for me, and it's kind of like, once you get there, the only way down, really.
Do you think that comes from the industry in general? You know, because I mean, it's a tough industry, and like obviously, you know, you've had so much success within it. But is it always? I guess is it because it come from that? Is it always that there's always something else that you got to do, and it's almost? I guess there's the stress from that. I guess.
I don't know, mate. Like we surpassed any of my expectations of this band when we played at Camden Underworld, and we were first on out of 4 bands. So anything's really a bonus. I think that's why we were always quite not blowing our own trumpets, but we always been quite humble and appreciative. You know, when good things happen, we would always take a minute and sit down and like, fuck man, like we're doing this. How cool is that? But more life outside the music industry, because, like I said, everything has gone really well for us. You know, you can't complain, and there is always a bigger fish, and there is always, you know, a band that comes out of nowhere and just seems to surpass us. But we've seen that happen a lot of times, and those bands don't always. I don't know, it kind of always levels out. And it's not about being the best at anything. It's about being the best that you can be. And as long as we always try and do that, then I think we're doing all right.
Yeah, for sure. Now, and I mean, what's the plan with the record then? I mean, obviously, I guess, are you guys putting it together at your studio again? Is that kind of, it's just kind of playing it by ear, or are we going to be hearing LTA music maybe in 2018?
From now on, I think just in general, we're just going to do everything ourselves. Cool. That's just, I don't know, we're definitely taking that element, like the whole DIY thing, back into our own hands, because we're probably going to be more DIY than ever, to be honest, mate. Like, we're independent now, for one. We're not on a major label. We're going to record our album ourselves. We also bought back the rights to FARQ and World Record. Oh. So we now own them. So there might be something, you know, we could do with them. It's probably, when did FARQ come out? 2010?
2010, yeah.
What we know, it's fuck me. That's going to be the 10-year anniversary of that album in 2 years.
Yeah.
That's mad. We feel old. I'll be spunking dust when it comes around. That 10-year anniversary.
So it's all about, it's completely DIY then. You guys are completely set up, and this album's just a completely DIY plan, essentially.
Yeah, there's not really, there's a couple of tunes in the mix that are out and out bangers, but cool. It's, I don't know, there's no, whereas before we'd always have a deadline, like our album has to be finished being written for this day, and then it has to be finished being recorded by this date, but this time we've just been like, whenever, that's when it happens.
Right, Jack, what are you saying?
Mike Duce, innit?
Yeah.
It's just Mike Duce. I mean, I've followed LTA all the way through from the FARQ days. Like, I remember seeing them in Lincoln headlining Crashed Out Festival on that album, where a little band called While She Sleeps also played. There's footage of me stage diving online from that song.
Oh, yes, find that.
And I was seeing through every single like stage, like from like into World Record and Changing Tune into the self-titled era. And the thing which has always stuck, even though they've changed and maybe like their attitude towards things has changed, Mike has stayed the same character. Like and this is like him at peak Mike. Like, he's open, honest, cheeky, and just like quintessentially Mike Duce. Like, not letting the fact that he knows that he's doing an interview, it's just like, oh, I need to sort the dog out, man. I've spilt something down myself. Like, yet still being really like honest about the position that the band are in now, and not being scared. Like, we say it every week, like, bands aren't scared to talk about like the bits of their careers that they don't enjoy, and he just seems more comfortable and content than he's been in a long time. Like, and the biggest things I saw was that he's taking the reins back on FARQ and World Record, getting the rights to them, being able to reclaim them, and also dealing with people who on the internet like Mike's brilliant on the internet
Yeah.
on one hand, but he knows that some people are rubbish, and like just dealing with them in the right way, like when people go, oh, play little stuff, it's like, as you say, yeah, it's there to listen to. Like the bands that they are now, like who they've dipped the toes into the pop world of things and like the more expansive stuff, like go and listen to it if you want. Like they'll do the way they are, and that's exactly what they're doing with this small tour as well. They're doing things their way, they're doing it how they want to do it, going back to places that they haven't in ages, and just taking it back to the roots, like remembering what it's like to be a band again.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I totally agree. And, you know, just the idea that, like you were saying, you know, that this is going to be an angry album, you know, whenever we hear the next LTA album, this is going to be angry. And it's taking that honesty and that, because, I mean, Farky, if you guys haven't heard it, go and check it out. It's like, it's probably one of the most lyrically brutal albums I've probably ever heard. Like, honest to the point of just like, you're just like, oh, you know, but it's absolutely amazing. And the idea of him taking that now and applying it to what his life is now, you know, and he was saying that he's not into, because there are songs on that album about debt, you know, and feeling down and out and everything like that, and now that's not his life anymore, but he wants to take that and apply it to his life now and still bring back, you know, that anger, that kind of vitriol. I'm so excited, you know, because I mean, I love this band. I've loved them from Farky right through to Safe and Sound, and it's just like I like the idea that something like that could be on the horizon. He says they've got 2 bangers already. Man, like I want LTA. I think for me, I just want pretty much the band that I've always wanted to succeed, you know. And I think that this could kind of be earth-shattering if they get that balance.
Yeah, it is reaching that stage, because like they did the Ali Pali with
Shikari.
Yeah, they did Ali Pali with Shikari, and seemed like Mike himself as a character, he was very comfortable on a stage of that size. Like he was giving it large and like just thrashing his guitar and like living the lifestyle that a rock star should. Like that's a term which doesn't really get thrown around a lot these days, but Mike is good at being that sort of rock star, like the British equivalent of what it should be. And it's just a case of like, if they can nail that, like get the songs which are both like universally like loved, but also have that kind of twinge of like, I don't know, like the thing which always set LTA out was the like the wit and the humour of it, like as you said, like just the lyrical side. So if you can nail that, where it's like it's a pop song, but it's also like let's say it in the way that Paramore have done it with After Laughter. Yeah, like they've got an album which is huge, like commercially, but also it's a lot deeper when you scratch the surface. If Mike can nail that with these lyrics as well, which we know he can, and he knows how to write a massive pop song, like they're onto a winner.
That's
like,
it, man.
Like it feels as though like LTA's journey has been going up and up and up. Like there hasn't been a point where musically they've stuttered.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the thing, and you know, and like what you've just said, and the idea that now this is all completely DIY, and that they've bought back those rights, and you know they've gone independent again, and they've got their own studio, and they've poured all this money and all this work into, like, say, you know, their own studio and their own kind of setup essentially. That could just give way to, because they do, it's like you just said, they have the tools to do it all essentially. If they distill that down into one album, you know, like he said that he's been focusing, like, he's primarily a guitar player, and he's been focusing on writing just sick riffs. Like that's essentially, and he tweeted about that, and like that's what he's been focusing on with this material, and that's so exciting because for me, you know, along with of course, you know, much missed Tom Searle, like Mike is for me the best riff writer in the UK. So if he can channel that against, like you say, being able to write these massive pop songs, you know, Mike's written for 5 Seconds of Summer and all these bands, you know, if he merges those two worlds, you know, and not to say, you know, the rest of LTA are absolutely incredible musicians as well, like they just have all the tools. I just feel this album could be the one, you know.
Oh, and just on that, what a tune, Heartache on the Big Screen.
Oh yeah, shout out Crudge.
What a tune.
Our advertising director Crudge like plays that song at least twice a day, so yeah, absolutely amazing. So shout out Mike, we'll hopefully talk to him again, and yeah, just absolutely brilliant stuff. Shout out LTA for being a classic band. Jack,
so we are back again with our new feature where we ask you a question and you give us some banging answers. So this one's this one's been stirring for a bit, but it's still one of our favourites. This was the times bands were just the nicest people on the planet. And there was, like, it was just so nice knowing that, like, it's one thing when you meet your favourite band and you go, oh, the normal like me. But, like, when they treat you, like, to something else as well, like, which you'll remember for the rest of your life, it's really sick. And these guys are a credit to their profession, I must say. So, first off, we have Axe Garza, who says, one time Frank Hero served hot chocolate to his fans who were waiting in the freezing rain. Good guy, Frank, always.
Big up.
This one's so wholesome. Vice's ex Tyler says, Austin Knight told me I'm capable of anything, which is huge.
That is.
Paliral memes, like, shout out you're always on hand for us and you always make us giggle. Said Emerson from Palais gave me his book for free because it was my birthday the next day. Legend.
Cracking.
Alan Ashby.
Yeah.
Alan Ashby. Miceman asked me to join the band. Yeah, good guys. Pottymouth Troy says State Champs wore Shrek mask with me and it was magical. Yeah, legends.
Yep.
Dr_Surge10 has said Jason Ron let live and the Fever gave him $3 to buy water after he lost his wallet. Sick. Good guy Jason, always.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Faye fell short. LTA dedicated a song to me in front of 12,000 people in another country. Shout out you again, Mike. FOBSOS_Ellie.
What a way to end.
Yeah, like, we all know how nice Alex Gaskov is, but this takes a ticket. Like, Alex Gaskov told Jack Barakat not to kill him.
I just want to know everything about that situation, how it led to that.
I mean, Jack, like, it's just, yeah. I mean, I hope there's not a reason that he was doing that. That he was just like in a bit of a wavy mood.
He looks so serious.
yeah. So I'm like, Jack.
But we'll get Barakat and Gaskov on the podcast. We will ask them about this.
What about next week, Will?
Next week, we want you guys to basically come up with the questions. So basically, with this post run, we want to completely give this over to you guys. So let us know what questions you want us to ask. We'll send them out online. Then you guys can tell us your story. So anything, it can be, as I say, we've had seeing bands in public, funny situations, to like today, with bands being nice, the nice people on the planet. Like, tell us what you want and let us know. So tell us the questions and we'll sort it out, and then you guys tell us the answers and we'll shout you out. So yeah, that's how it's going to work. Let us know and we will do it.
Legends.
Of course, we have a new issue on sale. Well, it's kind of hard. It's not even new anymore, is it?
It's been sat there simmering for a little bit and you've been picking it up. So.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, you guys have been picking this up. It's, doing really, really well. Nothing Nowhere, his first ever magazine cover. Absolutely amazing to be a part of. Shop.rocksound.tv. Reaper bundle is still available, but get on it quick. So many of you guys have been showing us pictures of you guys with your prints and everything. It's been absolutely amazing to see. So if you do want to go, if you fancy it, if you're interested in Nothing Nowhere, if you're interested in what he's about, if you've checked him out and you like what he's about, you have to pick this up. It's an absolutely essential purchase. It's an amazing limited edition cover, an exclusive hand signed print by Joe Nothing Nowhere himself, an enamel pin, a premium patch, vinyl stickers, and also limited edition art prints that are so cool. So yeah, get in there early. Honestly, like, we've been speaking about Joe Nothing Nowhere an absolute ton past couple of podcasts, and just to shout again that, like, just seeing you guys out there from you guys and readers to people in bands even saying that they've checked him out and they're so into it. So exciting, right?
Oh god, yeah, it's doing exactly what we hoped it did.
Yes,
that, like, people are understanding this, like, getting behind this, realizing how special it is, and just being invested. And yeah, I keep saying this is only the beginning. So.
Exactly, that's it, man. So good. And hopefully, we've got this sold out show coming up. Hopefully we'll have new music at some point, who knows, but super exciting. Shop.rocksound.tv. And of course as well, it includes a Slam Dunk poster special, which is really cool, featuring State Champs, Good Charlotte, Knucklepuck, Paris, all sorts of stuff in there. Really cool chats with State Champs Ryan Scott Graham, Caleb Stone from Beartooth, Jeff from Waterparks, The Secret Rockstar, all sorts of stuff. So shop.rocksound.tv. Amazing. So interview 2. So LTA Tour special, kind of. Boston Manor, Henry Cox. So brilliant. We all love Boston Manor in the office, and we've had B Nothing on tons and tons and tons. Our designer Tom Morgan always puts it on pretty much every week. So it was great to kind of talk to Henry as they kind of go into this next cycle and putting down this next album. They have Drowned in Gold, which we spoke about, which is kind of an interesting bridge between the last album and this forthcoming one. And Henry's an interesting character because he doesn't really, again, it's a bit like Mike, he doesn't really care about what he's saying in the sense that he's worried about other opinions. He says what he thinks and he's honest. And let's say this whole kind of thing, this discussion, this discourse that's arisen online about pop punk is so interesting because it we've already spoken about the idea of labels and genres not really being so much of a thing anymore, and I think the pop punk thing is being kind of dissected into, and Henry's got a lot to say on the matter, I think. So yeah, that's all coming up. So album 2, Drowned in Gold, what to expect there, lyrics, all sorts of stuff, and the pop punk controversy. So here we go. Great shout out to Henry. Here we go.
So let's kick off. Let's talk about Drowned in Gold. So you worked with Mike Sapone on that track. Where did that song come from? Tell me a bit about it.
It actually came amongst like a whole crop of songs we've been writing for another record, and it's a song we really, really liked, but it wasn't like the first album, and it wasn't like the second, what will become the second album. So. But we knew we wanted to release it because we really liked the song. So it kind of served as a bit. We were like, well, it kind of almost bridges the gap between album 1 and album 2. It kind of works quite well as like a kind of stepping stone track. And also, we are aware that it's been over like a year and a half, nearly 2 years since we put an album out. And by the time the second album comes out, it will have been a couple of years, So we were like, well, it seems like a long time to go without putting any music out. So we thought, we'll just do a single. And we recorded it with Mike while we were doing pre-production for our next album. So we kind of basically just were writing a bunch of songs. We had a bunch of songs already written, and we kind of developed those songs with him. And then during that time, we were like, well, we'll just properly record one track. And it's kind of a good way to kind of test your workflow out a little bit and to kind of get a feel for stuff like production and mixing and mastering and stuff for when you actually do the second record. So it does work well as a bit of an experiment doing a single.
Amazing. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, because I mean, like you say, that kind of bridging sense. I mean, it kind of feels like, it's got elements of Be Nothing, but it's something quite different as well. I mean, in terms of where you're going with the album, it sounds like you're getting a lot of tracks down. Is this going to be quite different to what we end up hearing, or is it? Do you reckon there's still going to be elements of that? Kind of what's the kind of the difference going to be in that sense?
I mean, the next record is definitely really different. I don't think it's so far. We've not done like a total 180, but I don't think it's so far removed that I'm hoping that our fans will enjoy it. We love it. We're really excited about it, but it's definitely different. It's stylistically, it's kind of we incorporate a lot of influence from stuff that was nowhere near what we were listening to or kind of experimenting with when we were recording Be Nothing. But we wrote that record like 2.5, 3 years ago, so it's, I mean, think of like, especially if you I mean, I'm 24, but I think, in your early 20s and stuff, your tastes change quite rapidly, don't they? And in 3 years, I'm definitely not listening to the kind of music I was 3 or 4 years ago. And also we've been playing music together in that time and developing as musicians and as artists. And I think you kind of end up being worlds apart from where you were. So yeah, it's definitely different. I can't really, I don't really want to say how, because what my perception of it might be totally different to the listener's perception. So I won't say in terms of like what it sounds like, But I think people will appreciate it, and I think I'm hoping it'll open us up to different and more unusual audiences than our previous material has.
Amazing. Yeah, sounds really exciting. Because, I mean, I was going to kind of move on to that as well. Because, I saw you guys last year play a range of different places, like really, really cool sets at Slam Dunk. And obviously I didn't see it, but went over really well at Warp Tour as well, So, like, and something I noticed as well, especially at places like Slam Dunk, your crowds were very eclectic. There are people of all sort of, different ages and all sorts of stuff. And, I mean, do you think that might lead to, and I saw you, like you're saying about, loving new styles of music and kind of your taste changing. I saw you tweeting about, like, Ruben and bands like that. I mean, like, do you think it might be quite?
Man, yeah.
Oh, what a band's like? Do you think it might end up being quite an eclectic?
So much, yeah.
What a band! Like, do you reckon it might end up being quite an eclectic listen in that sense?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, the record's a lot heavier than the last. Well, it is definitely heavier than the last record and stuff. But I do think it's more listenable as well. Which I don't know, a lot of times people don't really put those two things together, really. But yeah, I think it'll be eclectic. I mean, what we're really focused on right now is kind of tying the record together to make sure that it is all. All the songs are very different, but it still, sounds like it should all be on the same record together. Which we kind of put quite a focus on because we always consider ourselves like an album band kind of thing. But yeah, I think so. I mean, you're right. It's an interesting point you made. I do think, and I feel very blessed to have such a sort of eclectic fan base, to be honest, because we get a lot of young teenagers and stuff and people in their early 20s, but we get a lot of people that are, you see the big dudes in the back, 35, 40, 50-year-old men that are like giving it the beans and love it and stuff. And it's really nice to see such a broad spectrum of people.
Yeah,
our shows,
definitely. Yeah, no, for sure. Because I mean, in that sense as well, I mean, like I saw you were tweeting about kind of the pop punk genre and things like that, and how the term almost doesn't mean anything anymore. Do you think that operating just within a singular genre and that sort of thing, do you think that's very limiting in this day and age?
Absolutely, man, absolutely. And in the day, scenes don't really exist in the way that they used to. The hardcore scene used to be so vibrant and kind of tribalistic in the the 80s and 90s because it was a scene where you were an outcast if you liked that music, and you had to get records on like mail order, and you paid a lot of money for them, and you'd show up and you'd support the bands and stuff, and it was such a community. And now I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just different. You don't really have. There's not such a need to kind of that scene had to cling together in order to survive. If you didn't support it, it would kind of die. But now with Spotify, your average listener doesn't just at that time, they might only listen to New York hardcore, for example. But now these people will listen to like bands like Nails, super heavy bands, but then they'll also listen to like The Weeknd and stuff. It's not. People's music tastes aren't defined by their genres anymore. People listen to all sorts of stuff. And to that end, there's no need to kind of put yourself in a box. I mean, we don't just listen to that kind of stuff. We listen to all sorts of stuff, and you kind of want to explore all that as much as you can without while still being true to what you are,
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely. I mean, I totally agree with that. And I mean, in terms of kind of how that's going into the album then as well, I mean, do you think, is that something that you really, and by what you're saying, it sounds like it is that something you really want to explore, all the potential things that you could do with the Boston Manor sound, and that you don't kind of want to necessarily sort of leave any doors shut just because you feel you have to? You feel that it's really exciting to be able to explore every single kind of element of the Boston Manor sound? Yeah,
absolutely. We've written handfuls of songs that we've just thrown away because we've been like, okay, this was cool, we explored it, but it didn't really work. But I definitely have the view that you don't know till you try, and there's so many bits, like we'll put on like some kind of hip hop song or like a metal song. We'll be like, this bit in this song is super cool. Like I wonder if we could try doing something like that, or take the kind of what is the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? What is the core of this song? Why is it the way that it is? What moves the song? Is it the drums and bass that kind of drive it? Is it like just based on this hook in the chorus? What is the kind of the nuts and bolts of this song? And how could we explore doing something similar with our sound kind of thing, or apply this kind of bass line or this synth into our music? And we definitely we've had enough time. Like we've been writing songs for 4 or 5. It will be probably like 6 months by the time we come to record the record, on and off, because we've been touring a lot. But we were writing songs on Warped Tour and stuff. We've been trying to write as much as possible, so we've had time to really play around, and that's kind of been what it is. I mean, we're in the final stages of it now, so it's less just kind of messing around and more like, all right, it's crunch time now, But which we're not sweating about it at all. But yeah, for the most part, it's been loads of fun, man. And I think people should do that more. Like, I really feel sorry for people that are like, right, man, we've written a pop punk band, we're a pop punk record, and we're a pop punk band, so better write another pop punk record. Like, let's stick on the story so far and get some ideas. Like, I feel really bad for those bands because it must seem, that's no disrespect to the story so far for the record. I'm just saying that, people do definitely get trapped in these little boxes, and it must be so boring,
Yeah, man. No, again, I totally agree. And that sounds awesome. Like, I'm so excited to hear what you guys are coming up with in that sense. No, I mean,
thanks, man. Yeah, hopefully you'll like it.
Can't wait. I mean, in terms of, before we sort of move on as well to like kind of what's happened logistically with the album, I mean, like lyrically as well, like Be Nothing was a really sort of interesting album lyrically too. And it was very kind of quite a heavy, well, no, pleasure. Like, it's quite a heavy listen as well. I mean, songs like, this song is dedicated to nobody, and that sort of in the title track. And I mean, like, is it going to kind of continue in that sense? Because obviously, Drowning Gold's all about, followers and that sort of thing and not being a sheep. I mean, will it kind of continue in that sense? Are you kind of drawn to the slightly sort of darker, heavier topics in life?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it's way different lyrically from Be Nothing. I mean, Be Nothing is a very like apathetic record, and I kind of wrote a lot about me. And this record is nothing. None of it's about me. It's about kind of, I guess, my views on certain things, but it's a bit more kind of like a broader, probably the wrong word really, but the themes are a bit more central. It's all kind of pretty much hitting home the same message with a few exceptions, and it's kind of it's a very angry record, to be honest. I mean, musically and lyrically, but I don't know, it's cool, to be honest, and I feel like we've been a lot more comfortable being a bit more out there lyrically as well. Well, I have been more comfortable being out there lyrically as well, and not afraid to, am I going to come across like a bit of a dickhead here? Just like, fuck it, that's kind of what I want to say, so I'm just going to say it kind of thing. So it's a bit liberating, really. Like, I'm sure some people will think I'm a bit of a
banger,
but I don't mind, to be honest.
So it's quite, I mean, I think you mentioned earlier, but it's going to be quite a heavy record in parts then, literally heavy, sonically.
Definitely, yeah.
Man, exciting.
Yeah, sonically heavy, yeah, definitely.
Oh,
but
man.
There's breakwaters in that as well,
Amazing. And in terms of like when we're going to hear more stuff, I mean, it sounds like you're so inspired by everything you've been doing. It sounds like you've got so much down. Like, is it going to be that we're going to be hearing a lot of stuff, come the second half of the year, I guess?
Yeah, I guess so. We haven't got a date or anything yet, but I would imagine definitely by like, autumn it should be out, I would imagine, hopefully, but I don't want to put a time frame on it because I don't know how the rollout happens and when they're going to put the singles out and all that kind of shit. We just kind of deliver the album and let them do the rest of the thing, really. Yeah, and we they just tell us what's going on and we're like, yeah, cool. But yeah, no, I would imagine within the next sort of, I don't know, dude, and end of summer I would imagine the record you definitely heard some singles off it anyway.
Awesome stuff, man. Super exciting. I mean, yeah, I guess let's finish up then. I mean, like, as I say, it sounds like you're so excited about what you're doing. I mean, like, do you think that there needs to be more of that? I mean, we've kind of touched on it with the pop punk thing and everything. I mean, do you think that, in what is a very saturated music industry now, and everything's very instant and, we've mentioned Spotify and everything, all that sort of stuff. Do you think it is super important that, you do enjoy what you're doing and you do kind of find a real inspiration within your own music, especially when you're putting albums together and that sort of thing? So, I mean, do you feel that can sometimes get lost with in general?
Definitely, and it does blow my mind because we live in a time where, like, I'm not making fucking loads of money off doing this band, and I'm not at risk of like putting a bad album out and then I lose my mansion, you know what I mean? Which was the problem for people in the 90s and stuff. So in reality, there's no pressure. There's unlimited resources to listen to and make music. So I don't understand why people don't want to. And I realize I'm painting everyone with a broad brush. I mean, there's, I would say more artists than not are doing really interesting, cool shit at the moment. But particularly in our kind of little world, the alternative music, you do hear the same record a lot of times, particularly when a wave hits or something that does really well. So when that kind of wave starts to die out and you just get this kind of rehashing of the same stuff, I don't really understand why. Like, I listen to it and I'm like, are they enjoying, like basically what you said, are they enjoying playing this? And if that's that, they're just like, yeah, we're just, this band, we just want to make these kind of songs, we know it's not reinventing the wheel, but we just enjoy doing it, then wicked, it's not bad music by any stretch, but just personally, I would get very bored if I knew that it wasn't something that excited me personally or challenged me personally, shall we say.
Awesome stuff. So, Jack, what are you saying? Like, interesting stuff, yeah?
Yeah, I feel as though, aside from, like, the biggest thing about Boston Manor is, like, when they released Drowning Gold the other week, is how different it was in terms of sound and, like, vibe which they had created on Be Nothing and the earlier EPs, it was a complete shift of pace, like, and I feel as though it works for them, like, and it's exciting to know that they're working on darker subjects and like feeling like they can talk about things in a much deeper way. Like they kind of like tested it on Be Nothing, but like to go even darker and like going harder on like emotions and like traumas within life. And being angrier is like breaking the stigma that for both like the subjects which they're singing about, but also within the scene. Like this is what Henry's been talking about a lot, that like he gets like ripped a bit by other bands for like speaking up in such a way, but like I feel as though the tide is shifting again. Like it's so easy to put a band in a pigeonhole. Like I speak to so many people about it and just say, well, like you don't want, everyone wants to put something in a little box.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Like everything needs to have a name. And it's in some cases it's so easy to like do that for bands like Boston Manor and just put them under that one moniker. But when they're actually like standing up and going, no, we're not doing that anymore, we don't want to be that anymore, we don't, like, we'll still tour with those bands because like they're our friends, but like we're not touring with them just because we fit in with it. Like we want to go further than what like the constraints of this is, and to speak, like to say those things on the internet into a scene which is very much like jumping into like hungry piranhas at some times. Like, it takes a lot to do, and to do it with like the gusto that Henry does is pretty like, it takes a lot.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, I mean, it was brilliant to kind of hear him come out with this stuff. Now, I mean, it's been interesting kind of getting his take, and also speaking to Dan last week from Real Friends, and also, you know, a few months back chatting to Ryan from Seaway. And it's interesting seeing these different perspectives. And I mean, I think with all this considered, the best thing about all this is just that, a bit like what Henry was saying about, you know, we love this section from like this metal track or like this hip hop track. Can we see if we can incorporate that into what we are? And that's so cool. Like, and they're so stoked on what they're making. Like, I think that just bodes for like what's gonna be a banger.
Yeah, I mean, like it's the way that they're doing it, where they're picking up influence from other areas, but not like going, oh, let's just like put a hip hop break in here.
That. Yeah.
Like in the way that in the past, like when pop punk and metalcore took on like synths and dance music, let's just be that. It's like, let's take the attitude of that and what like the bare bones of that and try and incorporate the same sort of grit or like the same sort of style into what we're doing.
Yeah,
where like it's like I always remember it was when the Wonder Years released Suburbia and People Are Now Nothing, and they talked about the influences that they were going with, and like the one which always sticks in my mind is like, oh yeah, we're starting to do like American football, which people don't know that's like early emo. And it was like that, where they were talking about these bands which they were being influenced by, but like you couldn't tell that like they hadn't gone, well, this bit's cool. Let's just stick this in here. Like they'd taken the ethos of it and pushed it in, rather than just copy and pasting.
Yeah, it's subtle.
Yeah, and I feel as though that's what Boston Manor are doing. Like, I'd say Drowning Gold again, you can't really define it. Like it's so out there for what a small like British band who started from this, like started with these small wings and just like grown and grown and grown. Like it's very exciting to see where it's going.
Yeah, it really is. I think of like everything that's coming. I mean, like we've always chatted about in this podcast about how exciting it is, especially this year, you know, in terms of the amount of albums coming, and you know, we don't even really know what these things are going to sound like because of what Jack was just saying. I mean, like that's so exciting. I think Boston Manor are like at the absolute forefront of that, you know. So yeah, brilliant stuff. As I say, they're recording now. Mike's Capone in America. So when we hear stuff, we're going to be chatting about that because it's going to be a banger. Big shout out to Henry. So interview 3, new band Spotlight, also on the Than Atlantis tour in the UK in April and May. The Roxanne lead breakout stars, current breakout section, the Faim. So these lads from Perth, They've just released their debut single, Saints of the Sinners, which were written with Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy. And they've just had this amazing story already in that they were just this grassroots band who ended up just writing some great songs, doing really well, and then getting picked up by John Feldman, who's obviously produced bands from State Champs to Sleeping with Sirens, and then being put in this situation where they've just written with all these people, and they've written with Mark Hoppus and Josh Dunn, obviously Pete, John Feldman himself, and Stephen, who's one of the people we spoke to from the band. He's even put keys down the forthcoming Andy Black record, so it's an insane story already, and we're going to be seeing him for the first time with LTA in April, and so we thought this is the perfect opportunity to properly introduce you to the guys and their story. So we caught up with Stephen and Josh from the band, and here we go, the Faim.
Take me inside how you guys came together as a band. Like, how did the band come together?
Yeah, so myself and Josh and our guitarist Mike, we all went to school together. And we were in a music class and just writing grunge music as a class assignment. And that was the very first time we played together. Yeah. And so we're writing this music at Michael's house and recording it. And then we thought, hey, we should actually start a band. And I was like, oh, I know a guy that can sing. So I went to Josh. I was like, hey, man, do you want to start a band? He's like, yeah, sure. And we're like, hell yeah. And so then we just started jamming. And then we found our drummer, Sean, from his YouTube videos. About a few months later, and we're like, oh man, this guy's awesome, so we better get him along. And yeah, that was the foundation of it, just schoolmates, and then finding Sean a few months later. And it all took off from there. Best mates in school.
Amazing, cool. So in terms of them Feldman coming in, like, how does that lock in? Like, had you guys already put some tunes down before then, and that kind of, how did it all come together?
Yeah, so we had 2 self-released EPs under our old name, which was Small Town Heroes. And so they went okay, and like that was all cool. And then this is like a real funny story. We saw Feldman post just on Instagram. It was like, bands with touring experience hit me up with demos. We don't have it. We hadn't toured, but we thought, heck, let's do it anyway. So we thought, what's the worst that can happen? So we sent an email in just saying, hey John, here's our music. We really hope you love it. We're like dedicated musicians. This is all we want to do for the rest of our lives, and we'd be privileged if you would take a listen. Almost forgot about the email because we thought there would be no chance of it happening. And then we get the email back asking for like if we would be interested in working with John Feldman, and we were like, oh my gosh, as if this is actually happening. It was crazy. And then came the FaceTime call where John spoke with with Josh, Mike, and Sean, and I was actually on the other side of Australia at the time. And then became the task of writing these songs. So I flew back straight away from the other side of the country, and in this like hope that we could try and impress John straight away. And from there, we wrote 30 new ideas. 30 songs, sending them back and forth with Feldman. He was giving us, like guidelines, just help, like along the way, yeah, and just bit like feedback on the ideas we're sending him. And it was 30 ideas before we finally made it to LA to write and record with him in person.
Blimey.
Journey too, like the things we went through to actually do it.
Yeah,
like,
it was
we
crazy.
were all like sick for like about a week. Like while I was yakking in between vocal takes, Stephen just came back from army. He was exhausted. Michael was sick too, doing the production. It was just a hectic experience for all of us. Like
we worked ourselves to the bone, but loved every second of it. And yeah, it helped us get to LA, which was like a crazy dream.
Wow, man, that's absolutely amazing. So I mean, when you went over to LA, then so Rob was telling us that you got over there, and then when you first started working with them, with Feldy, it was just it went completely crazy because then Pete Wentz and Josh Dunn and Mark Hoppus were coming in and co-writing with you guys. I mean, this must have been insane. Like, take me inside all of that.
It was absolutely nuts. Like the very first day we were there, we sat down, we started playing one of the ideas that we'd written beforehand, and straight away it was like, okay, how can we get to the chorus quicker? I think we should change this part. Go. And we're like, wow, like within seconds. So we're working ourselves to the bone, and it was the first day, I think, was a 12-hour day.
Yeah.
And then we thought, oh, maybe it would slow down, and it did not.
it was sped up, and we all got addicted to caffeine.
A lot of caffeine was devoured. It was crazy. And that was awesome, and the co-writers were really great. And especially Pete. I'll forever remember
the moment when Pete Wentz walked into the studio. I was in the second recording room, just laying down some keys to one of the tracks, and then I heard the door open and shut. I thought, oh, maybe it's Josh, maybe it's Rob, and I turned around and it's Pete, and he's like, oh, I'm Pete. I'm like, oh, hello. I didn't know that. And oh gosh, I will forever remember that moment. And then that was great. Then we actually sat down, and before writing anything, we talked about and he gave us his insights on the music industry. It was about a 2-hour chat. It was amazing. He's just super insightful, and it was actually funny. A lot of the things that he mentioned to us were very similar to what he mentioned to you guys in the podcast that you did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was listening to it this morning. Great podcast, by the way.
Oh, cheers, man. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And what he mentioned about there's no space for mediocrity in the writing. I was like, wow, that is exactly what he told us. And the fact that if you're not willing to work on your laptop on a plane or something that someone else will, that was the whole vibe of his conversation with us. And I was blown away that he said the same thing to you. I was like, wow, this is so it goes to show that everything was saying was really from the heart. And that really found the basis of the song that we wrote with Pete, as it had to be unique. It had to be something different. And that was the whole concept that we went into when writing the song.
Definitely. This idea of just youthful rebellion, taking what you want and taking charge sort of thing as well.
Yeah, definitely. No, you can totally hear that. I mean, because Saints of the Sinners, obviously it's going to be the first single. Was that very much kind of what you just told me? Was that very much the basis of why you picked that as the first single? That it wanted to stand out as something really different to everything else?
Definitely. We wanted people to hear this song straight away and just be kind of thrown off balance, but feel connected to it and related to it in a sense. Because everyone has a sense of youthful rebellion. Everyone wants to take what's theirs, but some people kind of restrict that. Some people kind of hold that back for whatever reason. So it's about letting loose.
Yeah, and it definitely shows, the message that we want to give out as our first single. It shows that hunger and that strive that we have, and really hitting the whole world, which hasn't heard anything from us. So hitting the world hard with that first single is what we wanted to do. It's something that we're really passionate about having. So yeah,
definitely. No, as I say, it totally stands out. And talking about Josh as well, he played on a couple of different tracks. Is that correct?
He didn't actually play on any of the tracks. He actually we mainly just sat down and spoke with him and talked about us as individuals in life, and basically learnt about each other. And through that, the song kind of came together. But it really started from just talking, really getting to know each other as people, and our fears, our hopes, our dreams, and really getting to know someone who's kind of put on this pedestal, but he's a guy, and he has the same fears, the same everything that we do, and being able to relate and create a song out of that was really, really special for us.
That was definitely an amazing experience, working with Josh in that way. We've never written a song like that before. We never, the process of writing, that was the very first time that we sat down and talked for a substantial amount of time, just to really get to know each other, get to know what we want to write about. Yeah. And then the song really came from there, which was great. That really helped shape everything that we've written since then.
Definitely.
It changed the way we wrote and changed just the way that we thought about writing.
No, Mark Hoppus as well. I heard he's quite an unusual co-writer.
Mark is a great dude. He loves his nature videos. He loves his David Attenborough. He loves his. If you read his Twitter, man, it's the most hilarious thing.
Yeah.
But himself as well, a huge wealth of knowledge, and not just about pop punk. His knowledge ranges from every kind of music to everything. He loves to read all these different types of books and all these different types of music. He's opened himself to such a huge spectrum of sound, and being able to tap into that experience is so important for us, really. And his contribution to the song, being able to really just, again, talk. We just, again, there was no real set way we did it. We just talked about what we wanted to write about.
Yeah. That was definitely, once again, I think that was shaped by the very first session with Josh Dunn, because that really, we went in to that session with Josh and Mark. That second session we worked with Josh. and we went in with that same sort of mentality, and it just worked a charm.
Are all of these different songs sounding very different? You know, we were chatting about Saints of the Sinners sounding very, very unique. Is that very much the case for all of these songs?
Absolutely. Like, I think it definitely goes to show, like, with this day and age, and we all grew up with the resources and, like, the whole world of music at our fingertips, like, with all the social media, with YouTube, Spotify. And I think that really helped as, like, growing up, broadened just our interest in music, all of our inspirations, where we get our inspirations from, all those different sources. And that really came into account when writing these songs, because we love all these different styles of music. And it was amazing to, like, have the experience of getting these different styles, using different styles, like, for each song, by putting them together in a way which all around says the Faim. And that, I think the diversity really did come from writing those ideas. I think starting off, the main thing we did when writing those 30 ideas before getting to LA was experimenting. And we found through experimenting with those songs that then, like, the next batch of 20 that we wrote in the our first visit to LA we were able to experiment more. And then coming back to Perth, writing like another 5, and then going back to LA again, writing like another 10 songs. So having 60 songs all experimenting with different sounds for the one EP, it was crazy. It was amazing.
Sounds incredible, yeah. Because I mean, something I wanted to ask you guys, because like you say, these things, it's clear that you guys have sort of been raised on so many different styles of music. And I mean, do you think that's something that is changing now? In that bands are coming up like you guys that have been raised on so many different styles of music that genre boundaries aren't they're not really even a thing anymore, particularly.
Well, I definitely lean towards the idea that genres are becoming more fluid. People don't want to be concrete these days. People want to expand their horizons. Like, everyone's heard the same sort of thing before, so everyone's thinking, when you hear a song, what can I do differently to that? What can I offer to this already genre of sound? And, like, with 21 Pilots and with Paramore coming out with all these different sounds and different tones and stuff now, it really opens up the mainstream to being different. And I think that's what's so exciting about the future of music and what we've wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, no, I absolutely couldn't agree more. And I mean, as well, Stephen, like, just before we go on to what's coming up in 2018, I hear that you actually remain behind in LA for a bit, and you've actually laid down some stuff for the next Andy Black album. Is that right?
Yes. Oh, that was such an awesome experience. I was like so privileged to be able to do that. I was like so happy when I heard that John wanted me to say that. I was like, "You want me?" I'm like, "That is awesome." that was great. Like, I loved. It was a completely different vibe. Doing the music instead of like writing the actual songs, so to say. So I'd just be sitting there at the keys and then really like doing my best, just using my ear, and it's a whole different way of writing, which was just awesome to work with. Awesome to work with Andy Black. Geez, like what an artist. Just like being through it for so many years. And it was great to get that different style of working with another artist. Like, I've worked with these guys. I know how Josh works. I know how Mike works. I know how Sean works. And then having to change the way I worked to meet like another artist's needs was a great like experience for me. And it definitely like helped. It helped with our band as well, in a way that like I'm learning to deal with different situations and different ways of writing music, just to cater for like different songs.
It's going to be a really, really busy year then.
Oh yeah, we can't wait to get onto the grind and cash it out. A busy year is what we want.
We've been grinding all the way up to this point, but we're so excited to take the next step. It's like all this work we've done is kind of like, okay, we've done the 20 hours of work. Now it's like, okay, let's tour for like as much as possible.
Yeah. And like right now we're focusing on really on translating these songs live as best as we can. We've locked ourselves inside the rehearsal studio now, like 6 days a week, rehearsing and then playing small practice gigs, getting it all sorted for tour, just absolutely like smashing it out all the way up until the point we leave. So that then our very first show outside of Perth can feel like our 1,000th show.
Wow, man, that's so exciting. I mean, yeah, I guess to finish up then, so, it's the first time, you're heading outside Perth, like you're going full on tour, and it's going to be absolutely full on amazing. Albums due towards the end of the year, is that right?
Yes, correct.
Yes, it is. Hopefully.
Yeah,
That's the aim, but we'll
that's
see.
the plan.
That's the plan. Essentially, with us, things don't go according to plan, but we're hoping.
Yeah. That's the aim. So we can't wait for that. We're just so lucky that we've been able to come up with such a huge, just handful of songs that we're really stoked with. To give us that opportunity to have a single. So we're really excited for what's going to come, and we just can't wait for everyone to hear it.
Definitely.
Right, yeah, really, really interesting stuff. Unusual, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's what you always say. Like, I love this little circle which has formed in LA, where like it's all Feldman, like the absolute legend that he is.
Yeah.
Who he's just brought together all of these. He's brought together all of your faves to like. To like work with so many bands which he believes in, and like for your debut single, man, like to be written by Peter. Like,
I love how you was full name him.
yeah, Peter. And like that story where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm Pete Wentz. I'm here to write music. Oh, all right, mate. Yeah. Like it just shows that there's such a belief within there. Like if a band is working with these people so early on in their career, like this early on, like there's a spark there. There's got to be something which is about to go like astronomical.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just fascinating seeing it. Like the Saints in it is a massive tune. Like,
yeah.
And it does have that Feldman stomp to it. Like it's the same sort of feeling you can see on the Black Veil record.
Yeah.
It's what you see on like the Five Sauce albums. Like it's got hit written all over it, and for them to have this start in life and then their first time is on a tour, like it'll be interesting to know what reaction they do get on this LTA tour.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, they're kind of like the outsiders of it. Like opening the day for a very British bill as well, like coming over for your first time when you've got one single.
Yeah.
Like it's really like it's the proving grounds. Like this is where you make or break.
Yeah.
And like listen to the guys, you can hear like they're not thinking of it as like an issue.
It's like get us on tour. Yeah.
They're just loving like the fact that they're like allowed to have their music out in the world.
Yeah, because I think as well, there's like you're saying, you know, I think they're so, and there's probably a level of confidence as well because they've got this amazing array of songs in the bag already, you know, and we've only heard, you know, one song, essentially one finished song.
Yeah.
So the idea that, you know, what they're saying and the fact that they're confident about it and they bring all that over with them and they've got everything in their arsenal, like, man, that's really exciting. It bodes that there could be some real bangers coming.
And I've seen as well, like the fan base which they've already formed, like there's like which. The Family.
Yeah, shout out the Family. We know you're out there.
Yeah, like to have like a fan group already sat there, like ready and already hyped about everything you're doing, is pretty mad. It takes some bands years to do that.
Yeah,
like
there's such a level of intrigue.
Yeah, and just the like, it's just a fascinating kind of position to be in, and. Yeah, I mean, my main thing was just how enthusiastic they were about everything. Like,
really
you can just tell that they just want to be out and doing this and like making a living off this. Like, a lot of bands could be like, yeah, we'll get started and we'll go. These guys like we want to be around the world. We want to be seeing everything. We want to be playing to as many people as we can.
Yeah.
We want to meet as many people. It's like. It's like a terrier. Like it's just happy to be out the house.
Yeah,
like just legging it around. Like, and you're never gonna get it back. Like unless you chase after it.
Yeah, that's it. They're off around the world now, and that's it with these songs. I mean, you know, working with Josh as well. Obviously, we know all you guys out there love Pilots, and I mean, you know, like just the idea that they just sat down with him and it was just about talking, you know, and like that's how this song came to life, and that they just again, it's a bit like what we're talking about bands being nice and good people. You know, it's like they got on the same level, and it was like this guy's a normal dude, even though he's on this huge pedestal, and from that they were able to come up with this, you know, what I imagine is an awesome song, you know, which is really cool. And you know, working with Mark as well, and his kind of unusual writing kind of skills and methods and techniques as well, really, really cool stuff. So essentially, this is the start of just an amazing story, and we can't wait to see how it develops.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like sit back and see what happens now.
Yeah,
because it's gonna go. it's going to go off really quick.
Yeah.
It feels as though this isn't something which is going to simmer. It's going to be like setting a firework off, and it's just going to go. Well, I mean, fireworks don't go.
It's a good sound.
Yeah. I don't know. I can do it again.
Yes.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, like the core's been lit. Like it's just going to go off now, and we just have to sit back and enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, we'll see you guys on the LTA tour, and it's going to be amazing. It's almost feels like a battle of the bands in a way. It's really exciting. So. Yeah, awesome stuff. Shout out Stephen, shout out Josh from the Faim, awesome stuff, and shout out the family, of course. And just a reminder as well, our new issue featuring Nothing Nowhere's first ever magazine cover is on sale now at shop.rocksound.tv. The Reaper bundle is still on sale, so check that out. Honestly, you have to get involved with this. Like Jack said, it's only the beginning. This is the time for you guys to get involved with it. You know, you guys out there listening to reading, to people in bands have been telling us how much they appreciate what Joe is and how they're really, really into the tunes, and they've become fans overnight, essentially. Super exciting. So the Reaper bundle is available at shop.rocksound.tv. So it's been fun, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been all right, this.
Yeah.
I can't complain. But it could be nice to see Tamsin again.
Yeah.
Next week. I think she'll be back.
I think she'll be back.
Yeah, I think we've held it down.
Yeah, she's right. we have held the fort. Like, she's, Tamsin's not been very well, so shout out Tamsin.
Yeah. See you soon. But yeah, I think we've done all right. So I hope you've enjoyed us talking nonsensical brilliance.
I thought you were going to say nonsense. I like that. Amazing. Yeah, it's been fun, guys. Next week we've got the return of our very special feature, Always the Quiet Ones. We had Mr. Otto Wood last month, which went down very, very well indeed. So expect another special guest on that. Follow us on SoundCloud, subscribe to us on iTunes, and we will see you next week.
Right, love you. Bye.
Bye.